Welcome to the Conducive Implement Podcast. I am your host, K Meezy, aka Marquis Bay, aka Mr. Nobody, the ethical nihilist of perfected, imperfected, pessimistic opportunism. I know, right? It's a lot. We're kind of winding down from the last episode, same night, but I want to break it down. I don't want to give it too much in one episode, even though I really don't care. But hey, yeah. This is part 2 to my breakdown of the perverted interpretation of the ego. Now, the ego is not directly the self. The self is the soul, basically. The observer is the self. The ego is the self giving definition or form or acknowledgement of work, basically. And by work, I mean even work in itself, but it's giving it the ego, the I, is a title. Ego is like a title, like your name is a title. It's a vehicle of energy in expressive ways. When I nationalized and gave myself a free national name, a sovereign name that really stuck with me, Marquis Raoun Bey. Bays are the law enforcers. We enforce the law, and the highest form of law is love. The length, angle, and width of all dimensions. There's that 3 again. Peep me, peep me, peep me. And here we go. Love, 4 letters, right? 4 is the 90 degrees. It's the 360 taking another form of a box or a square or a capsule, a structure. It now can be built upon. Understanding gives you a foundation to now build with, which is the understanding, to build with, to learn and to see and follow the blueprint. And to overstand is to now come to your peak, to hit your prime. You know, to look over that mountaintop, to take that next step, that next, even when everything's stacked against you. And this may be off topic, but I feel that sometimes convictions or consequences, like my matriarch in the family would say, there's repercussions and consequences to life. And meaning that sometimes the consequences are not often the worst form of punishment. Sometimes it's for you to fully stop being self-centered and to be centered in self. To go within, to activate the power of 3, to activate that knowledge, wisdom, or understanding, or Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I don't mean to put it in a way that is blasphemous, you know. I rebuke any misinterpretation, but the 3, you have your first name, your middle name, and your last name. And you may even have 2 middle names. Got double the operator. Because I'm going to break this down using the title of God. Generator, operator, and destroyer. Your last name, which is the suffix. I believe, the suffix. Your middle name is the root. What is a root? A root, foundation. In one of the psychology books I was reading, I forgot, it said one cannot reach all the way to heaven or your higher self or your light self or your true self without having your roots or your source of inspiration or your push or your spark or your ignition of that internal flame, that compassionate heart, activating the 3 steps of faith, or the 3 steps of renewal, shall I call it, which is forgiveness, mercy, and grace, which is compassion. Compassion is the ability to see, comprehend, integrate, and feel without any other perversion or expression or impression except for acceptance and love. Tough love. Compassion is tough love. Passion is the fire within burning. Come, compute, communion, communicate. It's kind of like a preset for interaction or integration for not only your own subjective reality, but collective or subjective collectiveness. And the hardest part about this journey of self-improvement or knowing thyself is when you start to know thyself and you start to have form in the right way, order in the right way. You start to have a state of being, because you can be anything, but the best thing to be is yourself. But the hardest thing is to be yourself, because this world and the traditions and the structures of the fours and the squares and the angles of things that were already here before we even came into this reality were already set with a certain energy or a certain defining moment or coordinate that makes whatever in that environment either become a product of it or become a solicitor of it, so to say. So I say forgiveness is to accept the fault, to allow somebody to reflect and realize and improve. That's what we get forgiveness for, and we ask for forgiveness for. You ask for forgiveness not so much for the other person, but for yourself, to now give yourself space, because you will judge yourself. You will convict yourself. Your heart will bear witness to you. Like they say back in the ancient Kemet, weighing the heart to be light. And my last, or the episode before last, is to die empty is to die fulfilled. To open up to the truth of fate, to fulfill one's own destiny. When we accept fate, fate is predestined. It is what it is, but it's on you. It is what it is, fate. But it's on you, on how you get there, on what you experience when you get there, before you get there. That's destiny. Destiny, destination, goal, mission, a why, a destination. No, I would say fate is more of a why. Your destination is more of a what. We are who by what, empowered by how, designed by why. And the universal truth, or the universal fate of this human existence, is death. We die every day, we die every second, which is only releasing and detaching from patterns or states of being, forms of being, forms of expression, whether perverted or moral, basically, depending on how you see things. I see things that I don't see morality as morality. I see it as common sense, or the internal knowing, the heart. And that's where the separation is coming from, because of the heart. You got your, oh snap, I've probably been going live too long. But yeah, probably just going to end it. Like your heart, you have the top 3 chakras, and then the lower 3 chakras. The top 3 plus 1 chakra, 4 again, and then the lower 3, the 3 and 3, the 6 becoming 7, the flesh becoming godly, or the flesh activating its divinity or divine, which just means activation of primordial memory and remembrance. Divine, delightful. It's a positive connotation. It's light. Divinity is expressed. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. The ego is distorted by the illusion of time, or people would call the matrix, or the Saturn time matrix. The illusion of time, which is the internal mapping externally. The illusion of tracking progress. You don't track progress personally. You track progress interpersonally. Like I said, the only thing that's perfect in this world, truly in its form, is evil. Goodness is imperfected, because it's always a newer way to express it, and a more simple way to express it, and an easier way to do it. It's simple, it's small, it's detailed. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even say it's detailed. It's a feeling, or it's a representation in the art, the slight stroke, or the integration of a certain color in the artwork that gives it its uniqueness. Being good or being godlike is not always the same. Everybody's path is not the same. Everybody's renewal with the Christ-like mind, or the Christ consciousness, or this whole self-improvement, maturity journey, the hero's journey, conquering the darkness by realizing that the darkness will always be. But the light, you have to put yourself in the light. There comes a time where isolation can stagnate. Like I say, maturity, or the time, or what we consider time, or progress, or tracking, or experience, has to have a healthy form. It has to have a healthy interpersonal correlation. It has to have a healthy foundation. It has to be rooted in something that is individualized, non-dual, the gray area, basically. I was trying to figure out, got black and white, light and dark, you got duality. What is the color of non-dualism or individualism? It'd be the gray area, the non-conforming, the non-defining. The always is what it is. Harmony, temperance. virtuous application of the lessons of virtues of bad habits. Because bad habits restrict, and restriction has a stagnant standpoint. It can only restrict you so much, but it's up to you to either stay there or integrate and expand beyond that restriction by taking the pressure, the molding, the sculpting, the conditioning, or the trial to now be in this testament or this test of mind, test of will, test of your tool mastery. And if you really paid attention, you already know one of my episodes was about using the tool in the way it was designed to be used. You don't use a hammer to drill in a screw, and you don't use a drill to hammer in a nail. So I hope this was very informative. I know it was. And excuse me if I'm not as much as hype. I have been digging in real deep, and I'm just taking it all in. So be centered in self, not self-centered. Center yourself in. Center yourself in. Go within. Go within the heart space. Use your heart to filter out your mind. Your heart is your shield, your judge, jury, and executioner. Like there's 3 branches of government: to guide the mind of the people, to guide the collective, the unconscious, the patterns, the conformity, the laws, the guidelines, the rules. Man. If you learn the book, you can find loopholes. If you know the rules, you can break the rules without breaking the rules. Peace.